All right, to see MVVM in action, I have built a very simple application. And if you want to code along with me, download the zip file I've attached to this lecture. So first, let's see what this application does. Here we have an add button on the toolbar. When we click that, it creates a playlist object and adds it to our list. Let's try a few times. Note that the title of the page is dynamically updated, and here we have 4 playlists. Also, below each playlist, we have this detail label, which determines if we have marked this playlist as favorite or not. Now, if I tap on one of these playlists, favorite becomes true, and the color of playlist changes to pink. If I tap it again, it goes back to its previous state. So very simple application. It exhibits a few patterns here. We have a list, we have selection of items, we have adding an item to a list, and we have updating the page title. And here's the source code for this project. So we have models folder, where we have our playlist class, and we also have views with 2 pages, playlist detail page and playlists page. Now, as we work through this section, we'll explore each of these files in detail. Now let's take a quick look at the code behind for our main page, which is playlists page. So here we have an observable collection, which is used as the item source for our list view. Very similar to what you have seen before, no magic. Note that we are setting the item source in onAppearing method. Below that, we have 2 event handlers. One is onAddPlaylist and the other is onPlacedSelected. Again, the code you see here is very simple, and you have seen several examples similar to this throughout the course. So I'm not going to explain this line by line. But I want to point out a few reasons why this class is not unit testable. The first problem is this onAppearing method. So this method, as you know, is called automatically by the framework when the page appears. Now in this method, we are setting the item source for the list view. The problem with this method is that we cannot call it from our unit tests because it's protected. And I cannot change this to public either, because here we are overriding onAppearing method that is defined in the base class, content page. So I cannot call this in a unit test and assert that the item source property of list view is initialized. Now there is a hack around this. We can potentially extract this logic into a public method that we can call from our unit tests. But that's really a hack. It's not the proper way to unit test this code. So we have to revert this back to protected. Another problem is this list view object itself. As you know, this is a private field in this class. Same applies to any other controls that we have in our XAML, and we give them an X name. We'll get a private field in this class. Now, if we're directly working with these controls and the code behind, we cannot write unit tests to make assertions about the state of these private fields. Again, we have to jump through the hoops, we have to expose them as public properties, and this is really messy. Let's look at another example. Look at these 2 event handlers. Again, both of these are private methods. If you want to call them from the outside, we have to make them public. Now, that's not the end of the world, but imagine we had a call to display alert here and ask the user to confirm something. Now, what is the problem here? The problem is that in our unit tests, we don't have a confirmation box. So in a nutshell, the problem with this code is that it's tightly coupled to Xamarin. If we want to unit test this, the first step is to extract as much code as possible into a separate class that we call a view model. And this view model should be decoupled from Xamarin or any other presentation frameworks. And this way, we can easily unit test this, because this view model is going to be what we call a plain old CLR object or POCO. It's a simple class with a few simple properties and methods. It doesn't have event handlers like these private methods here. It doesn't have any references to objects like selected item, changed, event args, and so on. So starting from the next lecture, we're going to refactor this code step by step and extract as much logic as possible into a view model. Ideally, this code behind should be empty, but that's an ideal point and may not always happen, as you will see later in this section. So now let's start refactoring this code.